Coach of the Texan track and field team, Coach Bean, joins us. Coach Wiley next door. And guys, I tell you what, it's been another great season. Coach Bean, start us off and hit a few of the high spots, and it's been another good year for the Texans, Lady Texans.
It really has. I mean, we've had a lot of school records and great performances, probably the biggest of which was breaking the national record in the 4x4 over at Tech last week. So, that's a 18-year-old national record and set by Blinn College back when they were real dominant in the sport. And, we had 3 freshmen and a sophomore on that relay. So we're going to get a few of those kids back, I hope. But that was probably the biggest highlight. And we've had a lot of other good performances and school records. And, I feel like we ought to be confident and strong going into the national meet.
Wiley, give us your thoughts on this season overall, and give us kind of your synopsis of what's been going on.
Well, I feel the same way about Coach Bean. I mean, it's been a great year, top to bottom, men, women, every event from sprints, hurdles, jumps, 800 meters, all the way up to the, where it started back in cross country and half marathon and winning that title with the girls. So really, it's all a culmination of coming together and at the right time, you hope for the national meet. But we rewrote the record books this year, and every year we think we can't break all these records, and then we break them. And then the next year, there's no way we can break these records, and we break them. And so that's just real fun to be a part of. I think eventually they're going to get where we don't break so many of them, but the kids keep showing up, so we'll see.
It's track and field's kind of an interesting deal in the fact that you can be a good sprint team, and you can be a good distance team, and you can be a good fields team. But this is just a team that is just very well rounded.
Well, that's always been our philosophy. We're going to go out and recruit the best athletes available in whatever events they can be in, and have a rounded team, and then we're going to find ways to coach them. And we got Coach Slagle that kind of volunteers and helps us with our pole vaulters, and Coach Barker that helps us a little bit with the distance runners, and then Coach Wiley and I kind of get the rest of it. But we figure out a way to coach whatever event it is and get them ready, and that's just the philosophy that we've had, since I've been here.
Let's talk about nationals. Now, this is something. Talk about how this came to be. I mean, obviously, somebody somewhere had to sit down one day and go, we ought to have nationals at South Plains College in Loveland, Texas. Talk about how this started and where it got rolling from.
Well, I mean, that always starts with Coach Tubb and him wanting to give back to the community and, have teams here and the businesses being able to make money off the, bringing those teams in. So it's just a way for us to give back to the people of the community and say thank you for, what you do for the school and all that kind of stuff.
Folks out there aren't track and field people. You talk about officials. How many guys how many people are we looking at out there that have the official title on their back, if you will?
Well, you'll probably have 50-plus officials. And if you look at one event may have 4 or 5 officials just to run it off. And there's 22 events on the men and 22 events on the women's side. Now, some of those overlap, like the running events and things like that. You can kind of move from event to event. But, all the field events, they have 4 or 5 officials, sometimes more depending on the event. So it takes a lot of help. It takes a lot of volunteers. It takes a lot of people that are going to be out in the sun and heat all day. And it's a thankless job a little bit from the standpoint of, you're dealing with coaches that, are not always happy with the way things are called. And, that's the one thing about a basketball official or something like that. Those guys get paid decent money and, sometimes travel and food and whatever it is they get to kind of take the heat on their shoulders. And, track officials literally go out there and are donating their time and then still get some of the same flack.
And you touched on this earlier about community impact. This thing, you start talking about that many people come to Loveland, Texas, you may double the population of town before this whole thing's over. Local businesses have got to be going, by golly, let's do this over here. How about it?
Well, and we've done it. And this will be the 3rd one in my 8 years that we've done it here in the outdoor track, and we're looking at maybe a half marathon down the road. And I know they've talked about indoors. We've done indoors a couple times over at Tech, so which is not in Levelland, obviously, but we host something at least every other year, one way or the other. And like I said, with half marathon and possibly cross country and some things like that, we're going to bring back here, I think 3 to 4 years down the road, the outdoor national meet back here again. So it's something that we have great officials, we have good facilities. The school does a great job of hosting it with the maintenance group doing what they do to get ready, and just across the board. I mean, it's I think a lot of people don't necessarily like traveling this far, but they know it's going to be done right.
You look at this facility, and you just talked about that a little bit. You guys have done some facelifts here, had some rework done on the track over the off season, and unfortunately a little bit into the on season. But I understand it came out pretty well, and that's all done and ready to go, and looks pretty nice.
It does. I mean, it's we got the track, we got a couple of high jump pole vault pits that we got redone, and we got some blocks and things that you really need to upgrade when you're doing a national meet, especially when it's been 4 years since the last one, and that stuff just gets used, and the weather out here and heat and sand and all that stuff, some of that stuff just has to be replaced, and I think it's going to be a nice meet, and I think the facilities are looking pretty good, and I think we're going to have first-class equipment and everything we need to do.
I'd also think this would draw a lot of flies from colleges, Division I, four-year colleges around the area. I mean, the best place to go scout is when you get a whole bunch of the best together.
No, I think we'll be represented by every major conference there is, by multiple schools. I bet you over half of the SEC will have coaches here. Majority of the Big 12 will have coaches here, as well as ACC. I bet Miami's comes, Florida State comes. There'll be some Arizona, California people here. I mean, they won't send their entire staffs, but there'll be a representative from the majority of the elite universities in the country. Some of them specialize more in junior college transfers than others, and they know that if they can come here and find a kid that can come in and make an immediate impact at the junior college level leaving here, it saves them maybe some time messing with an 18-year-old freshman kid that you got to develop a year or two. You can come in and have an immediate heavy hitter from some of these guys and girls, and kind of hit the ground running rather than spending a couple of years developing them.
I always tell people, I said, this business is about recruiting, and then you get to coach. And really, that's what it is. I mean, you go out and find the best ones, and we've been able to do some of that. And when you have 3 girls sign with LSU, and you get 2 kids sign with Arkansas, and 1 at A&M and 1 at Texas Tech, and that was just our first signing. We're going to have more kids. I got a girl, javelin thrower, looks like may go to the University of Georgia, and we've got several other kids that haven't committed yet but are getting close to that, and those are some pretty major schools when you start looking at it.
Yeah, when you start talking about track and field, putting it maybe in a relationship, you start talking about Arkansas and LSU and A&M. You want to put that in basketball terms, you can throw Duke out there in North Carolina. These are
top 5, top 10
programs. No doubt. And I think a lot of people sometimes don't always know that because, track is just not as covered as other sports. But yeah, when you put it in those terms and say, okay, well, we're talking North Carolina and Duke and schools like that for basketball, I think people can relate to that. And yes, that is true. I mean, those are the ones that are winning the titles, and those are the ones that we're working with and getting kids here. They're giving us names of kids, and they're helping us sometimes find kids, and it's nice when some of those kids go back to those schools and get that opportunity to go to the next level at such a premier school.
Expectations obviously are very high. I mean, you've got a lot of track and field titles hanging on the wall out here, and I'm sure you're looking at this one going, boy, how awesome it's going to be to try to hang another one right here in your own yard. That's got to be a great feeling for the athletes.
Well, let me tell you this. It really is from this standpoint. Last time we had it here 4 years ago, we won the men and just barely lost the women. And we had a girl that got hurt a little bit, and it really almost ended up being the difference in the meet. And so we didn't get a chance to win both the last time we were here in front of our home crowd. So that's something we want to do. We want to come here and get after it on both sides and maybe have a chance to hoist both trophies at the end and be champions with both men and women this time.
Speaking injury, you always hate to talk about health of the team, but how's everybody coming into this week in nationals?
Oh, Coach, you want to talk about your group?
I think we're pretty healthy. I mean, we're as healthy as we've been all year. We've had a few people that have been overcoming injuries and came back and raced for the first time at Texas Tech, and several of them qualified, ran season bests, and so far we're looking real healthy. And if I could touch on what Coach said a minute ago about the titles, winning them here, the other thing is that we're trying to do is continue our streaks. This could be our 4th women's title in a row and our 6th men's title in a row. And we've talked a lot with our team on the most that's ever been won on the men's side is 7 in a row.
Wow. And
so if we can get this one done, that puts us in position next year to really keep this thing rolling and maybe make a little bit more junior college history.
Very good. Coach, how's the health of your end of the fence?
It's really good. I look around at we're starting to come together at the right time. We're healthy. And and the good news is, for the most part, we're now at the part of the season where we're starting to back off and rest. And so in workouts, I mean, as long as we don't do something crazy, this is the time when they should start feeling healthy and feeling
Fresh.
well and fresh. And there's not a practice here where we're going to go out and go so hard that we're really risking them again. So we should go into the meet pretty healthy, as long as we take care of business the next few days and don't do something crazy, messing around, stepping off a curb or
Jumping in the bounce house.
yes, or trying to go play a pickup game of basketball or something like that. I mean,
And that's a real tribute to our trainer, Mindy White, and her staff.
Yes.
Done a great job keeping us healthy,
Wow.
getting us better, and all those kind of things. I mean, track and field, you get beat up, you get bruised, you get worn out, and the training staff does a great job of putting us back together again and keeping us rolling. So we appreciate
Yes.
what they do for us.
yeah, from our student trainers all the way up. But Mindy she's been phenomenal for us this year. I can't tell you the hours she's worked, how hard she's worked, and how much we appreciate her and her GAs as well that she brings over. And they really have been something. And I know that they've been overworked with our group this year, probably because it's we really believe in toughening them up from the standpoint of we run races and we push them really hard. And because we know when we get to the national meet, it's going to be that kind of meet. And so with that, you get little bitty things that, the shin splints, you get the little hamstring things that bother you and all that kind of stuff. So having somebody that can go in and really keep them straight when those things happen really helps us towards the end getting where we want to be.
All right, guys. Final thoughts for us for today before we get ready to take on a national track and field meet. Coach Wiley, final thoughts.
I'm just excited to be having it here in Levelland. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot better than a 12-hour bus ride somewhere else. And I think the kids will do well sleeping in their own bed. They're ready for the challenge. And, hopefully the weather will cooperate, and then we'll have a great meet and come out on top and hopefully host a couple of more championship trophies up.
Coach Bean?
You bet. I feel the same way. I'm excited and tired all at the same time. You get to this time of the season, and there's part of you that's really happy or waiting for it to be over. But once the meet starts, I mean, I'll be literally, by the time we get to the third day and it's over, I'll be so worn out I can't hardly stand up because I'll just be wired the whole time. I can't ever sit down, and got to keep moving, and that's just my personality a little bit. But I'm excited for our kids. That's the big thing is I love not only for it to showcase South Plains College, but I love for our kids to have the opportunity in front of all these D1 coaches to go out there and say, look what I can do. And if you'll give me an opportunity in your program and the scholarship that I deserve, I would be happy to come do that for your school. And I think that it really gives our kids a chance to do that. And I think more people look at our program because of where we're at and the titles. And so I think our kids get a better look sometimes than other programs do.